So Nick Ball has been booked to fight Brandon Figueroa on February 1st in Liverpool to defend Nick Ball's world featherweight title. Now, Nick Ball is a guy who, if you're a fan of the channel, you've seen I've made a number of videos about before. I'm a fan of him. I love his style. He's super aggressive, high-paced, closes the distance, puts the pressure on, puts his punches together. People say like he's like a mini Mike Tyson, and he kind of is. You know, of course, he's not going to be a mirror image of Mike Tyson in terms of his explosivity, power, etc. You know, he's at 126. Tyson was at heavyweight. Sorry, but Nick Ball stylistically, in terms of the visuals, in terms of the hands up, hands up, chin down, apply pressure, explosive, in and out, big shots, combinations. Nick Ball very much does resemble Mike Tyson in that aspect. But if you're looking at Nick Ball's resume, and there are people that are big fans of Nick Ball, I'm a big fan of Nick Ball. I am. But his resume is thin. And for people to be talking about him the way he is as a featherweight, to me, in my opinion, is a bit premature. Because his last two wins, Lewis Neri and... what's his name? Sam Goodman. So like his last wins, like Lewis Neri, TJ Doheny, and Sam Goodman. All guys who reached a pretty high level at super bantamweight, not at featherweight. And these are probably the most recognisable wins on Nick Ball's resume. Do you know what I mean? The most recognisable wins are super bantamweights. Now, Sam Goodman's a good boxer. Sam Goodman's a very good boxer and gave Nick Ball a tough fight. But he's not a featherweight. Like, that's the reality of it. And that's how people are going to see Nick Ball's resume, and rightfully so. You need to beat the top guys at featherweight. I don't think Nick Ball's ducking these guys. If anything, it might be the other way around, where these guys are ducking Nick Ball because why on earth would you want to fight him? Apart from having a world title, apart from the payday, stylistically, he's a tough fight for anyone. But you have to beat... if you want to be the guy, you've got to beat these guys. Do you know what I mean? You've got to beat top featherweights. Nick Ball hasn't done that yet, but against Brandon Figueroa, he has a chance to. Now, Brandon Figueroa is a guy who's been at world level. He's a 2-weight world champion, actually. He lost his belts to Stephen Fulton, and he lost Stephen Fulton twice. Again, in my opinion, competitive fights, close fights. In my opinion, Stephen Fulton was probably the 1B guy at featherweight. So, losing to him, there's no shame in that, in my opinion. There's no shame in, losing to Stephen Fulton. But, yeah, I think the featherweight division's in an interesting spot, and this fight's an interesting fight because Figueroa's definitely still in and around the top of the division. Now, he's not in 1A, 1B conversations. Like, he never was, to be fair. But he's big. He's a bit lanky for featherweight. Everyone's going to be lankier than Nick Ball. He's just a ball of muscle, Everyone's going to be taller. Everyone's going to have the reach advantage. And Figueroa definitely has that. It's just about effectively using it. Sam Goodman effectively used it at times in that fight, but he didn't do it enough to win the fight. And you got to think Figueroa as a guy who's, a natural featherweight and has been acclimated at its weight division for a while, you would think he would be able to use that height and reach advantage and effectively maybe even nullify Nick Ball. But Nick Ball's the home fighter. It's in Liverpool. He's a big puncher. Everyone's going to be there to see him win. And no doubt, I think Nick Ball's going to show up. He's going to show up and show out because he's going to want to. It's his hometown. It's Liverpool. That's where he's from. He's a Scouser. And he's going to want to knock Brandon Figueroa's block off. And that's what he's going to come to do. And Nick Ball is unwavering. His gas tank is one of the best things about him. Being a combination puncher is cool. Being a pressure fighter is cool. But it's not cool if you can only do it for 2 rounds. Nick Ball will put a pace on you unlike any other featherweight, other than probably Rafael Espinosa, who's literally the complete opposite to Nick Ball in terms of, physique, etc. The complete opposite. But those are probably the 2 best guys at featherweight right now, in my opinion. And Bruce Carrington's in that conversation as well. But, yeah, even though I can see routes to victory for Figueroa, because Sam Goodman did sort of lay out a bit of a blueprint that, if developed upon, could potentially result in a win over Nick Ball. But I do fancy Nick Ball to win this. Like I said, I think there's a lot of stuff in his favour. He's a defending champion. It's in his hometown. And his style as well. It's a sort of style that is very easy to give him decision wins. You have certain boxers who is very easy to rob. Nick Ball, in my opinion, is the opposite. He's one of the fighters, because he's always applying pressure, because he's always throwing punches, he's one of these guys that's actually easy to give rounds to. And I think in Liverpool, they're definitely going to want to do that. So I think Nick Ball can come out with the win here. But this is a really interesting fight in my opinion, and no doubt I'll be making more than one video about this fight. But let me know what you guys think of Nick Ball v Brandon Figueroa for the Featherweight World Championship. Let me know in the comments below. Another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest in the bag, and I'm out. Peace.